PMBOK 8 did not blow up project management. It did not rewrite how projects work, and no, you do not need to memorize another massive PMI book. What changed is that PMI evolved the standard to match what high-performing project teams were already doing, adapting their approach based on context instead of following one rigid methodology. PMBOK 8 is built around tailoring. This is the key concept. Tailoring your approach to project delivery in a way that creates value, not just checking boxes, not just following templates because that's what the PMO folder says to do. Quick thing before we go further. My name is Steve, and I am the founder of 4E Project Solutions. If this kind of breakdown is useful, please hit subscribe and like this video. This channel cuts through the noise and explains how modern project management actually works. Every time PMI releases a new PMBOK, the internet panics. New acronyms, new frameworks, new lists of things people think they suddenly must memorize. Meanwhile, real project managers are struggling with actual problems. Running hybrid projects with distributed teams, stakeholders demanding waterfall documentation on agile projects, requirements that change weekly, PMO templates that don't fit the work you're actually doing, and the constant question, which parts of this standard actually apply to my project? That is the problem PMBOK 8 directly addresses. It does not tell you what to do, it teaches you how to choose what to do based on context. And here is why this matters for your projects. The cost of not tailoring is massive. Teams waste hours creating artifacts nobody reads, status meetings that add no value, documentation that becomes obsolete before it's finished, change control processes that slow down work without reducing risk. This creates friction, burns out your team, and delays value delivery. On the flip side, good tailoring means your team spends time on work that matters. Stakeholders get the transparency they need in the format that works best. Governance is present but not oppressive. And the project delivers value faster. PMBOK 8 gives you a framework for making those tailoring decisions systematically instead of by gut feel. Here's how we got here. PMBOK 6 was process-focused. 49 processes organized into 5 process groups that did overlap and iterate throughout the project lifecycle. It worked well for many projects, but teams often struggled to know which processes to emphasize and when. PMBOK 7 shifted to principles and performance domains, more flexible and adaptive, but many practitioners found it too abstract for practical application. PMBOK 8 brings it together. It integrates principles, performance domains, and processes into a unified standard that explicitly guides you on how to tailor. You get structure when you need it, flexibility where it matters, and clear guidance on making those choices. PMBOK 8 is organized around 6 core principles. These are not things to memorize. They are decision-making tools. Adopt a holistic view. Focus on value. Embed quality. Be an accountable leader. Integrate sustainability. Build an empowered culture. Here's how this works in practice. Say a stakeholder asks for a detailed Gantt chart on an adaptive project with changing requirements. Instead of saying yes because they asked or no because you're agile, you ask this question. Does this deliver value? Will they actually use it to make decisions? Does it support the team or create maintenance overhead? Does it fit our delivery approach or conflict with how we are working? If a high-level roadmap with release milestones gives them the visibility they need without creating waste, that is your answer. You are delivering transparency without creating work that becomes obsolete every iteration. That is tailoring. Same principle applies everywhere. Deciding between a formal change control board versus backlog prioritization sessions. Choosing a detailed WBS versus epic and story hierarchy. Determining whether you need a comprehensive risk register or lightweight assumption tracking in retrospectives. The question is never, what does the standard say to do? The question is always, what does this project need to deliver value? Let me give you a simple 3-question filter for any project decision. Question 1. Does this create value for the customer or key stakeholders? If it does not, stop. Question 2. Does this reduce risk or improve quality in a way that matters? If it does not, stop. Question 3. Does this enable the team or improve how we work? If it does not, stop. If it passes all 3, do it. If it only passes 1 or 2, tailor it down to the minimum that still delivers the benefit. This keeps you from defaulting to template thinking and forces intentional decisions. PMBOK 8 organizes work into 5 focus areas: initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. These are not sequential phases you move through once. They are continuous activities that happen throughout the project with different intensity at different times. Planning happens in release planning, sprint planning, and daily stand-ups. Execution, monitoring, and adjusting happen simultaneously. In a predictive project, you might have more formal planning up front, but you are still continuously planning as you learn and adapt. Same focus areas, different emphasis. That is the flexibility PMBOK 8 enables. PMBOK 8 also defines 7 performance domains. These represent where outcomes are achieved: governance, scope, schedule, finance, stakeholders, resources, risk. Notice what is not here: the iron triangle. For decades, project success was defined by 3 constraints: scope, time, and cost. Did we deliver what we said, when we said, for what we said? That is output thinking. Performance domains shift to outcome thinking. Success is not checking 3 boxes. Success is creating value for stakeholders while effectively managing all 7 domains simultaneously. Here is the difference. Iron triangle thinking says scope grew, so we need more time or more money. Performance domain thinking says stakeholder needs evolved, so how do we adjust scope, resequence work, and reallocate resources while maintaining governance and managing uncertainty? That is a richer, more realistic view of how projects actually work. You are not optimizing for 3 variables. You are orchestrating 7 dimensions of performance to deliver value. That is modern project management. These domains operate simultaneously throughout the project. Tailoring means deciding how much emphasis each domain needs based on your project's context. Here is what that looks like. A low-risk internal project might track risk informally in sprint retrospectives. No risk register, no quantitative analysis, just continuous identification and mitigation. A regulated, safety-critical program might have formal risk reviews, quantitative analysis, risk owners, and escalation protocols. Same domain, different emphasis, both valid. The key is matching the approach to the context. A small project with a stable internal team might have minimal governance, whereas a large program with multiple vendors and regulatory requirements needs formal governance structures. Neither is wrong. The wrong choice is using the same approach for both. PMBOK 8 includes 40 processes. Here is what is critical to understand. They are references, not requirements. A focus area can be satisfied by formal processes, informal practices, or organizational policies. A small internal project might actively use 15 processes. A large regulated multi-vendor program might use all 40, plus additional organizational processes. The question is not whether you used every process. The question is whether you chose the right ones for this project. Think of the 40 processes as a menu, not a mandate. You select what fits your project's needs. This is the fundamental shift. Old thinking asked, what does the PMBOK say to do here? PMBOK 8 asks, what does this project need given its context? Every process you use, you can justify why. Every artifact you create, you can defend its value. Every step you skip, you know why it does not apply. That is professional project management. Here is your challenge this week. Pick one artifact that you are currently creating on a project. It could be a status report, a risk register, a change log, a lessons learned document, and then run it through the 3-question filter. Does this create value for the customer or key stakeholders? Does this reduce risk or improve quality in a way that matters? Does this enable the team or improve how we work? If it fails all 3, stop creating it. If it passes 1 or 2, tailor it down to the minimum that still delivers the benefit. Use that time to do something that moves the project forward.